Great. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And before we begin with our agenda, I'd like for everyone to join me in taking a moment of silence in memory of Chuck Vaughn. Thank you. You'll be join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, please.
Okay. Ed Heil.
Present.
Jason Keogh is excused. Rick Knotts. Here. Ashley Pasqua.
Here.
Robert Smith.
Here.
Scott Welty.
Here.
Mark Z.
Here.
Lauren Better.
Here.
And Councilmember Michelle Lynn.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now is the time for the call to the public, if any members of the audience wish to speak. Okay. We'll move on to the approval of the November 25th, 2019 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Welty. Member Knotts? Second. Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. And now the staff report, Mr. Keene.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Registration for our youth spring break camp started today. That camp runs from kindergartners through our sixth graders. Will be held at Smoke Tree Elementary from Monday, March 16th through Friday, March 20th from 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. The cost of that camp is $41 for the first child and $32 for each additional child. The field trips will include bowling, movies, and swimming. Our recreation department will be participating in the Hobbies Not Habits teen event held at MCC on March 7th to advertise many of our youth programs in hopes that the teens will choose the hobbies and not the bad habits. Our youth boys and girls basketball end of season celebration will be held March 7th at the Aquatic Center. And I'd like to thank the Lake Havasu Firefighters Charities for a donation of $4,000 towards our Recreation Youth Scholarship Fund to assist families with the upcoming summer camp costs. That money was raised during their annual Firefighter Pumpkin Festival. So again, thanks to the Firefighters Charities. Kinderswim began today and will run through the first week of May. That is a program that teaches all of our kindergartners, gives them at least a little brief taste of how to be safe in the water. The Lake Havasu City Police Department will be holding dive team training on February 26th. The Girl Scouts will have a private pool rental on March 8th. And our spring break, during spring break, we'll have an open swim schedule March 16th through March 20th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. The pool will be open. And March 26th, there's an after-school program during that early release from 2:30 to 5 p.m. The pool will also be open. A couple events coming up at the community center. There's an Eagles tribute concert on March 1st. a late night catechism comedy show on March 4th. The Nova graduation and swim party will be March 6th. The Parrot Head Sock Hop will be on March 7th. ABBA Fab tribute concert will be on March 8th. The FLW fishing tournament registration will be March 11th. The Art Guild Spring Show, March 13th through 15th. The Western Welcome Bunko will be held on March 16th. A George Strait tribute concert on March 17th. The Arizona Collectibles and Firearms Show, March 21st and 22nd. A Girls' Night Musical, March 24th. And the Home Show, March 27th through 29th. A few events going on in town for the next month. The FMCA Rally at Sarah Park Rodeo Grounds, February 22nd through the 21st, or through March 1st. Pickle Fest Pickleball Tournament at Dick Samp Pickleball Courts will be held February 28th through March 1st. Lake Havasu Brews and Brats will be at the Parcel on McCulloch, February 29th. The Havasu Girls Softball Opening Day at Rotary Park Ballfields, February 29th. Beach Reach at London Bridge Beach Ramadas 3 and 4 will run the month of March from March 1st through March 29th. Havasu Deuces will be on McCulloch Boulevard on March 5th, and then on Rotary Park Ballfields March 7th. First Friday will be held at Yard City and the sidewalks along McCulloch on March 6th. The Works Rounds 3 and 4 races will be held at the Island Track on March 13th through the 15th, and again on March 20th through the 22nd. Lake Havasu City 4th Grade Water Festival will be held on the Island Ballfields March 10th. Little League Opening Night at Sarah Park Ballfields March 13th. The Havasu Triathlon at Windsor 4, London Bridge Road, and the Island will be held on March 14th. Teen Break will be held at Rotary Community Park March 17th through the 19th. The Dunham Magical Night of Music will be held at Hodel Way, as well as shops up and down Main Street, will be held on March 20th. The International Scooter Association Qualifier at the Patrick Tinnell Memorial Skate Park will be March 20th and 21st. The Havasu Springs Craft and Gift Show at the Parcel on McCulloch will be held March 20th through the 22nd. Help Us Reverse Domestic Violence Walk on the Island Ballfields and the Island Walking Path March 21st. Share the Road Memorial Bike Ride along London Bridge Road will be held on March 28th. Troop Box Convoy 3rd Annual Car and Bike Show at the London Bridge Plaza parking lot on March 28th. And then the final design phase of the new pickleball courts. We're in that phase currently. We've had several meetings with the Pickleball Association to discuss these plans. And the Pickleball Association will be attending the March 10th council meeting to present a check to the council and to the mayor for their contribution towards the cost of building the new courts. So with that, you can see there's not a whole lot going on in town over the next month or so. So if anyone says they don't have anything to do, I think they need to read the list. Quite a bit going on. So hopefully everybody can get out and enjoy the beautiful weather and the beautiful activities we have coming this spring. With that, that concludes my report, and I'll take any questions.
Any questions from the board? Okay, thank you. We will move into our public hearings. The first is on a discussion of the 2021 budget and city council planning session. Are you kicking this off?
I am.
Okay.
And Councilmember Lynn, if you would like to add anything as I go, please feel free. On February 6th, council and staff had their annual budget and city council planning session. A few items I just kind of wanted to touch on. General budget overview was presented by our admin services director, and a few there were several key points that I took away from that. Is that while our budget is doing fine today, we have several areas that we really kind of need to dig in and focus on in the long term. Some of that is our deferred capital and maintenance costs. Our position analysis, which the city is conducting this year, those results came in to get pretty much all of our employees up to market. Is going to anywhere be from $500,000 to $1 million to add to next year's, or the thought of adding to next year's budget. So staff is working on a plan for that. The future of the irrigation and drainage district. In order to continue the level of services that all city services supply, the revenue projections, we'll need to come up with some additional revenue in order to continue to supply those same level of services, as the cost of everything just continues to climb. We only have so much money that the city is recouping to supply those services as well. Another major topic, the city clerk did a presentation on the boards and commissions. She started by reviewing the changes that were made in 2019. Some of that had to do with ways the agenda were set, and a few of those areas. 4 topics that were open for discussion were having our council liaison serve as the chair. That item was shot down quickly. I do think it's, and I also agree that it's nice to have a member of the public serve as our chairperson, and being able to go out in the public a little bit more and understand how that works. The changing of frequency of meetings from monthly to quarterly, that item was approved. The possible revision of powers and duties, that item was also approved. And one of my favorite is to have a joint work session with the boards and council to discuss what council would actually like to see from the boards. I know we've talked about that in this group a little bit. The mayor has come and also discussed a little bit of what true value. You guys dedicate a lot of time and effort into the board, and what is that value? What are they truly looking for out of the board? So they were very interested in having that joint session. So those will be some areas that we'll be looking at moving forward on exactly how to do. So that kind of, I guess we can wrap up that area of the agenda, because it does flow into the next public hearing item as well, which is looking at our frequency of meetings and dates for those. So with that, does anyone have any questions regarding, I guess, that short presentation of the session?
Questions?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify on that meeting is more of the do's and don'ts of the city, of the advisory board.
As far as the revisions of the power and duties, I think some of that again ties into that joint work session of what are they really looking to get out of the council itself. If we were to change, and in changing the frequency of the meetings, that also changes that power and duties section. Both of the boards, the Airport Advisory Board and the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, they're written differently, where the intention is really for those boards to be very similar.
I was just wondering if there's been a problem over the last years that has made it difficult for them to understand what our job and duties are.
I don't think for them to understand. I think it's actually been more from the board's perspective of what is the true goal of the board.
I just wanted to make it also a public note that, in my opinion, these boards and these meetings are designed for the public, and I just want to put that out there. I don't know if I'll have another chance to say that, but since we're going to be going on to the discussion of quarterly, a lot of people don't live here year round. You can see that your agenda and all the activities that are happening just in this 1 month. We've had a lot of cancellations on our boards, and if we move to something quarterly, and heaven forbid one of those meetings was canceled, it'd be 6 months before a topic could be raised or talked about by the public. And like I said, in my opinion, I believe that these meetings are designed to give the public a forum to discuss their issues with us, bring their issues at hand to the board then to make recommendations to you, the director, then you take your ultimate inputs to the city council to approve or disapprove. It seems really cut and dry. It seems like a lot of us are put into that training with our handbook and our certification of completing the rules and regulations of the board. So I strongly objected on the airport advisory board for quarterly meetings. I strongly objected about the meeting of clarification. And I just really want to emphasize this is all about public awareness, not so much what we think or we care or what the city council cares. There are elected positions. They come and they go. The public and the people always have that right. And to give them a monthly outlet to speak of problems and concerns that come up right away. And it's an ever-changing world. No one can read the future. No one's going to know what the future holds. So if a problem came up, we would have to wait 3 months for the public to bring it to the board, which could then bring it to the city council. And in my opinion, I don't think anyone on the city council is looking at it that way. And I just want to make that clear to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Zief. And just to clarify, this is a decision, the council has already taken action on this, and it will go into effect July 1st, or what's the timing?
It will actually come in front of council in the month of, where are we at here, in March. And then, so they will have a chance to actually vote on that because it is changing city code. So they will hear again from the public and then make a final decision on that.
Okay. And then it would go into effect
30 days after, if they were to change that, then it would go into effect 30 days after their adoption of the new ordinance.
So although it was discussed in recommendations at their 2021 planning session, it's for now.
Correct, and they can't do any formal actions at that session, so it would have to come before them at an actual council meeting.
Just one more thing.
Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to remind everyone that the public doesn't go to those training sessions, and I think a lot of the public's in the dark about all this. A lot of the board members in the dark about this on the airport advisory board and on this board. Everybody just gets hit with the tsunami as it's coming in, and I just think it's tricky for them to have brought it up at that training session. And I just wanted to remind the public that, you are correct. They did not vote on it. It wasn't even a full quorum. It wasn't like a meeting to where they could vote on it. But is there going to be an outlet for the public to know about all this on the website and the papers to give the public a chance to come and speak on that issue?
Yes, it would be brought up just like any other agenda item would be to city council meetings.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman, I thought that, was it like a first reading discussion or something? I thought that I had heard or read somewhere that the city council did have an open discussion.
So the city manager is the one who brought it to the council's attention at the retreat, and it was just up for discussion. And I'm going to tell you, I was in favor of it, and I'll explain why, but I do understand what you're saying, and I appreciate it, and thank you for sharing, because I didn't look at it that way. I just looked at it that a lot of the times that we have these monthly meetings, there's very little on there. So to have everybody get together to discuss one or two items, and maybe we could talk about doing bi-monthly instead of quarterly, because I understand your concerns now, what you're saying. But I was for it because looking at some of the things being, sometimes taking them completely away a month. So, but I do understand what you're saying.
It was Coffee with the Mayor where I heard it. It just came to my head. Okay.
Yeah.
For the record.
One more thing. You know, it seems in the past that when we don't have an agenda, we just cancel the meeting and we move forward to the next month. And that seems to work fine, because if there are no topics or discussions to meet, we just cancel. Public knows there's nothing, but we just have to strongly urge that it's for the public to come and bring their issues to the boards at those, times and dates that are pre-scheduled. And with snowbirds living here seasonally, California residents living here seasonally, it's just really important to give that monthly outlet to the public. And I'll go to all the meetings and speak on my opinions as we move forward.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Zeef, thank you. Now that I understand, this was only regarding the Parks and Rec Board and the Airport Advisory Board. And for me to be the liaison for this board, I will take that into consideration and I will voice those. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Do we have other questions or perspectives anybody wants to share?
I kind of agree with Mr. Zeef on this one too. Is it seems like things that come in do take a long time to get rolling, and I think that if we do the meetings the way they're suggesting, projects will just carry on forever, and I don't know that, we have a hard time getting things through and done in a timely manner sometimes as it is, and I think that by doing that, it's going to even drag things out even more. And also that we are here to hear from the public on a monthly basis, and in making the public wait X amount of months to present something to the board, I don't feel is 100% fair.
Thank you.
Just one more. The argument, of course, against this opinion of mine will be that the public would be more than likely to come to the city council meetings and bring their positions and their concerns to those city council meetings. But as we know in the past, the reason these boards were created is so those city council meetings don't drag on into 2 and 3 hour meetings. We want to keep those meetings for administrative, mainly, decisions. And if we've got a line of people out the door every second Tuesday of the month to discuss pickleball issues, volleyball issues, basketball issues, spring teen break issues, those meetings are going to turn into 4 and 5 hour meetings. So this allows those meetings to move forward as they have been. And we just need to urge the city council to not move forward on those quarterly things. Thank you.
I'd like to just share a thought. I appreciate all the comments shared. I do understand that there may not be a need to meet every month. I think some of our agendas, I agree, are not pressing to meet every month. And sometimes we're even trying to come up with agenda topics because we aren't being given any. And then I also recognize the staff time and resources put into having these meetings. So I appreciate the look at it and seeing if what would be the right frequency. I do feel that maybe one thing should have happened before the other, and understanding what our charge is and how the city council wants to use this as a true advisory board, and then how frequently we would need to be providing recommendations. That might be a conversation that needs to happen before just deciding how frequently to meet.
Yeah.
That's my perspective.
Yes, very good.
Any other thoughts, Ms. Fetter? Okay. So this is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public that would like to?
Are you on 7.1?
We are still on 7.1, and we're kind of bleeding into 7.2, but let's take any presentation or setup you wanted to provide for 7.2, which is future meeting dates, and maybe talk about them together. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
Consensus.
And I believe in your packet there is the kind of a generic budget schedule. And I use this as kind of a guide to if we were going to meet quarterly, I don't want to just say we're going to meet every 3 months, because to me that just doesn't make sense. So there shouldn't be a timeline on that. It should be strategically placed throughout the year where I'm going to receive the most benefit from the board. So I use this, again, it's generic. There's some dates that fluctuate in there each year, just one depending on the calendar, two depending on where we're at in the city, with our, some of our processes of CIP, if we need to spend a little bit more time on those. So the dates fluctuate a little bit, but it is a pretty good guide that we utilize. So my recommendation to the board was going to be, if we were to meet 4 times a year, close to quarterly, was to meet in the month of October. That kind of puts us in the beginning of. Well, let me start with January. Let's start in the beginning of the year, and we'll get. So the reason to meet in January is it's right before and/or right after the council review session. So therefore, I could take issues to council and/or bring comments back to the board from that council retreat and planning session. April, which would be just before the final adoption or our final work in the budget, and right before our summer programs start. So good feedback time there. August is a time where we look at our fees for the upcoming year. So all our fees and charges, as well as we can begin the conversation of any CIP projects.
Mr. Keen?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt, just because there's paper shuffling because we're missing a quarter. Just August, September, October, those 3 months are missing.
Oh,
So just,
okay.
if you're seeing us.
Sorry.
look
Yeah,
off,
because
that's
there's,
why.
yeah, we don't as department directors, we don't work on the budget in those months. It's our budget time
Okay.
off. So yes, you're gonna miss some months in
Okay,
that. So, I apologize there.
that's okay.
So August, again, we start working on our fees and charges for the upcoming year, as well as any new CIP projects that we'd like to present. And then I'd like to meet again in the month of October to re-talk about those CIP projects. Gives me an opportunity to go back, kind of fine tune what the board suggestion might be there. Look into, have the idea of some of the pricing, what some of those projects would truly cost, and whether or not that was something that would be workable into the CIP. So again, those months that I was thinking of, if we were to meet again quarterly, but using that term very loosely, of 4 times a year, would be January, April, August, and October. So again, it doesn't really fall in every 3 month. But it would give me the opportunity to get a lot of the information that I would need from the board.
Great, thank you. Questions and comments? Then I will go back to the public hearing process. So if anyone in the audience has questions or comments on 7.1 or 7.2.
Yeah, Doug Carr. I do like Mark's idea of every other month, but, because I've been coming here for 5 years, with pickleball, and we're almost done, but we're not yet. And it's going to be October, then maybe November, and hopefully by December. But anyway, so I can see his point of those months, but, if you have it August, and I couldn't be on the board because I'm not going to be here in August, so maybe that's why he did it. No, but anyways, I do like coming. I missed last month because you guys weren't here. I like coming every month and seeing. I come to city councils, but sometimes there isn't anything, but a lot of times there are, every month, but it just depends on what's out there. Maybe some other groups are going to come and want to get more soccer fields up real quick, and, every 3 months, I don't know. But I do like coming here and seeing you guys and listening to what's going on in the city. So that's my my point. And thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Nancy Campbell. As I've been out getting to talk to the public, having the wonderful opportunity of doing that, I just want to tell you the feedback from what you guys are doing has been phenomenal. People are very happy, and that event list is incredible. And I do get told by a lot of people there's just not enough to do for our kids. And I cannot say that that's true anymore. There's just so much you guys do. So I just wanted to thank you.
Thank you. I just have another comment on it. I really appreciate you thinking through this and not making just sort of an arbitrary throwing it out there. So maybe it's just looking at a slightly higher frequency of meetings, but not every month. We recognize that that's may not be the best use of everyone's time. I recognize that. I'm sorry. I don't mean to speak for the board. So I don't know what that looks like as far as language in the city code, but maybe it's something of a certain number of meetings a year at the discretion of the director and approved by the board or something like that. I don't know how that would work, but I do appreciate looking ahead and really planning that out.
I just think the city council and the administration needs to slow down a little bit. They're changing a lot of things fast since the new mayor and new city manager have taken office. The Sarah Park thing came and went. I could go on with a list of things. I'm not going to use this forum for that, but it seems like they have to change the code, which exists already, for a reason, to move forward with this proposal of quarterly or bi-monthly. And I just think they need to take a deep, hard look at keeping things the way they are for now. No one can predict the future. Change is good. Change always comes. And people always have to have time to bring their issues to the board. Meeting monthly has been great. And like I said, if you don't have anything, cancel the meeting. We've had no problems with that in the last 3 years anyway. So if nothing's going on, explain nothing's going on and we're canceling it. But to preordain and almost try to read the future, the unknown, is silly and sloppy. Shouldn't be done. And I don't know if this is the time to make the recommendation to keep things the way they are and not change the code and keep the monthly meetings going as they go. We have a big turnover rate of board members. We have a big turnover rate of city council members. And heaven forbid, we want to get somebody in that believes in this monthly meeting system, and we've got to re-change the code back. There's been a lot of code changing lately. I just think the city council needs to slow down on that. That's just my opinion. And I would like to make a recommendation to keep the meetings the way they have been rolling. I like to see Mike once a month. He's very informative. All this information, all you're doing for the community is super important for the community. If the Parks and Rec Board stops this monthly meeting, what kind of message does that send to the community that Parks and Rec isn't as important as it should be, when all we're doing is screaming about how we need things for our kids and the future of our kids to have things to do? And I'll speak to the airport advisory board issue as well. They bring in $100,000 a day to the community, and those men work really hard every month to make sure that people are safe and things are running smooth out at the airport, and that's why I objected for that, and I wanted that to stay the same also. There's nothing wrong with the system. It's not broken. It's rolling along just fine. We'd be more than happy to meet and learn the rules and operations and procedures, but I really love this monthly stuff. And if I can get a second.
So this is an action item, so it sounds like you're making a motion, and your motion is to maintain a monthly meeting schedule?
That's correct, ma'am.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay. So any further discussion on this? I've shared my opinion. Mr. Knotts? Here.
There it is. I actually like your idea. So I don't know if it's the time to discuss that before voting on the current motion. But I do like the idea of, if possible, have the director come up with a certain number of meetings, and if it's 6, whatever, 6, 8, and set those dates at his discretion. So I kind of like that idea. Thank you.
So we'll take any further discussion on this motion unless you wanted to amend your motion, which, no, okay. So we'll take any further discussion on this motion and vote on that, and then if needed, we can have another motion on the other suggestion. Any other discussion on the motion to have a monthly meeting calendar? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, nay?
Nay, there we go.
Anyone abstaining? I couldn't hear if did everyone vote? Okay, you're abstaining? Or did you vote in favor? Okay. Did you get that for the record? Okay. So Mr. Keene, can you talk about, or maybe, I don't know, how this recommendation will be brought forward?
I will bring this recommendation to our city manager, who will then pass that along to our council. Obviously, we have our liaison here who, when this item does come up on the agenda, she can speak to the fact that the Parks and Recreation Board did vote to continue the monthly meetings as opposed to changing them to a quarterly function or even a bi-monthly or however. So she'll be able to add that information during that discussion as well.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the teen break update discussion item.
So Teen Break will be held March 17th, 18th, and 19th from 12 to 5 p.m. at the Rotary Park Beach. The cost is $41. That includes all the activities, all the food our participants can eat and drink. There are tons of scholarships available, so if anybody is in need and that $41 doesn't work for them, we are able to fund that through our scholarship program. Registration will begin on March 2nd. Donations are still being accepted. To this date, so far, with the mayor actually sent out a very nice letter to many of the businesses in town that have given in the past. And to date, we have received $16,000 in donations. So thank you to everybody that has done that. Some of the activities that will be included this year is a giant slide, a mud pit, skateboard and scooter events, the gaming trailer, if I can read my own writing, a continuous foam party, and many, many, many more activities. I don't want to give away all the secrets before they get there. With that, we take any questions.
Great. Any questions or comments? No? It's great. It's great to have Teen Break back. I know it was back last year, but it's great to see it continuing forward and for the community for supporting it. So this is a public hearing. Do you have any comments from the public?
Just the ages?
Oh, so the question was about the ages. 6th through 12th grade. Right?
6th through 12th grade,
Okay.
correct. Thank you.
I was looking at the beautiful flyer that was created. Any other comments? Okay, thank you. And the last public hearing is a presentation on various park improvements completed and to be completed.
So part of our presentation during the council retreat or council session, does everyone have that on their screen in front of them? Okay. Was for each department to give just kind of a brief accomplishments over the last year. So I took that opportunity to show off some of the park improvements that we have done over the last year, as well as some that are coming within the next, should be by the end of this fiscal year. So during the bathroom renovations, we took the opportunity because the two of the bocce ball courts closest to the bathrooms would need to be closed during the reconstruction of the bathroom that sits right off of Smoke Tree. So we constructed 2 new bocce ball courts just over a little further on the beach, so that all of the participants that love to play bocce would still have an opportunity to play there. So that now gives us 5 bocce ball courts in that complex right there. With the help of the Lake Havasu Disc Golf Association, we were able to construct the 2nd disc golf course out at Sarah Park. Again, that couldn't been done without the help of that agency, a group of individuals. They went out and did a ton of work, including designing the course many years ago, and had the layout really already there. They installed the tee boxes. We purchased and installed the baskets, and been very successful. There's a lot of people talking about it on Facebook and social media. Beautiful course to go out and play. If you haven't been out there, it is quite a hike. As you can see in some of the pictures, it is very rocky. So please dress appropriately. And we do still have the original disc golf course on Grand Island. So if you're just getting into the sport, that might be a better place to learn the sport itself. But we're very proud of that 2nd course out at Sarah. Over the summer, with the help of Unisource, they donated a solar and shade structure at Mesquite Park. So there you see the ribbon cutting and the structure itself. We also did some work out there, some landscaping work, to add that retaining wall and rock as some sitting places, as well as we redid the soft surface around the playground. We will come back this spring and remove some of the turf that is there, and put some more desert landscaping in the park, as opposed to the grassy areas. It's just very hard to get mowers up there, and we have to bring a whole separate crew up for literally like 3 passes. So it just financially doesn't make sense. So we're gonna add some desert landscaping to that park this spring. For 17 years in a row, we have been named one of the Tree City USAs, thanks to our arborist Craig Geary and his support of the Arbor Day Foundation. Last year, we planted 150 trees alone as part of this project, as well as many others throughout the city. Many of those are out on the island, trying to beautify around the island walking path. This year, the school that we've chosen to work with for the Arbor Day Foundation and Arbor Day will be Nautilus. That's the last elementary school that we have not worked with as far as the Arbor Day education, as well as planting. Several new landscaping projects in the upper left there with the Keep Havasu Beautiful Foundation. Some work around the island path, up and down Swanson as that road construction was finished. There was left a strip of land between the sidewalk and the roadway itself that we needed to landscape. A couple others, ADOT donated a bunch of rock on the north end of the highway that was spread out and distributed around to beautify that area. And we're working as well on the entranceway to the Riviera. Pleased to have the newest facility in Lake Havasu City for city functions. is our new parks maintenance facility. That sits at 140 Park Avenue, just at the southern entrance to Rotary Park. It does sit behind a kind of a brick wall, so it's a little harder to see. But that is where we will, in the next few weeks, house the entire parks maintenance department. Right now, we have about 3/4 of them housed out of that facility, and the last section will be moving down in the next couple weeks. And then, of course, we were able to bring Teen Break back with the support of the public and council. So there's a couple of pictures from last year. You can kind of see the mud pit, as well as some of the foam parties and them hanging out on the beach area, having a good time. So a few projects still to come in this fiscal year. We've talked about this a couple times, but the need for an additional light on the lower ball field at Cypress Park. So while we did not receive the U.S. soccer grant for that, which was for $25,000, Musco has been very willing to work with us and bring the price of their unit down that almost equals exactly the price of that grant. So we believe we can get this done for under $50,000, which will be wonderful. And right now we're actually just waiting on a bid to run the electrical. So the project is pretty close to being in motion and should be completed by the end of this fiscal year.
Mr. King?
Yes.
So just to clarify, are you saying that even though the budget or the grant was not awarded, you're still planning on moving forward with the project?
Yes, I have some funds identified in our budget to be able to still do that project. A new sign package for Rotary Community Park and London Bridge Beach. Many of our signs are, just outdated. Some are very burnt by the sun. Some are contradictory of themselves, not necessarily self-explanatory. We have a lot of repetitive signs. So throughout the next couple months, we'll be going through the park and identifying and replacing many signs throughout those two parks. I know one of them too, we get into a lot of discussions of Rotary Park and the fact that there are no dogs allowed, but you have to read some pretty small print when you're driving to be able to understand that. So that will be identified in a completely separate sign by itself, just for education purposes. But again, there's lots of signs down in those two parks that just need some updating and some clarifications. One of the projects that will take place, I have the date, I believe it's May 11th, or starting that week after the Lake Havasu High School wins our state tennis championship. We will resurface the tennis courts at the high school. At that time, while we had the company in town, we thought it would be just as advantageous to go ahead and resurface the basketball court at London Bridge Beach as well. That court is getting pretty beat up, so we're gonna resurface that as well, and then kind of refurbish the entire basketball area. What I'm looking at right now, and I believe we'll be able to afford it, is replace all the backboards, all the rims, kind of everything there to make that a little bit more modernized. And then our pickleball project. As I said a little bit earlier, we are in the final design phase for that. We actually have a meeting on March 3rd with our internal engineer to really finalize all those and get those sent back to the design team and the consultants to get that project wrapped up and out to bid. That actually ended my presentation and then flew into our police department. So I will give a little plug. If this is Rocky, this is our new police dog. He's an Irish setter, and he was chosen He's very calm and docile. He is a drug dog, not a regular uniform attack dog. So he will be able to come into classrooms and meet children and kind of be a mascot of the police department a little bit. So that's Rocky now, and everybody will. We believe everybody will like the police department much better. So we're trying to figure out what animal we can get in the Parks and Recreation department to top Rocky. So if you have any ideas, please let me know.
Okay. And can we make an exception for the no dog rule for Rocky
For-
at Rotary Park?
I think they will make that
Okay.
exception, yes.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments from the board? Mr. Knotts?
Yes, Mr. Keen, do you use Prison Industries for your sign package that you're getting?
We're going to do most of them in-house with our sign shop themselves.
Will they be, so they're not going to be metal?
They will be metal,
Oh,
yes.
you do have an in-house metal sign shop?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Other questions, comments? Mr. Z?
Excellent presentation. I loved it. Fabulous. Thank you so much for your hard work and everything that your department does. You guys did a fabulous job on the Frisbee golf course. It's a lot to digest. You went through so many things. I was thinking in my mind, what am I going to talk about? In Mesquite Park now, is there a fountain there? And if so, when does it start operating and for how long?
It is a splash pad. We're not allowed to call it a fountain. There's different ways it has to be treated. If it's a fountain versus a splash pad. So it is technically a splash pad, and it runs April 1st through the end of October. So the first couple years, or the first year we ran it all year, and it just really did not see the activity for the amount of staff time that we have to send up there checking the water, the pool, the chemicals in it. It's basically treated as a pool. And so it just didn't warrant the visitation during the off months.
Yeah, I noticed that last summer, and what a fantastic idea it was. I think that's excellent, and I'm not sure if much of the public knows about that, but there is a splash pad at Mesquite Park right by the parcel on McCulloch, which is a really neat place to take your kids in a hot summer day. And that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
I wonder if in the future, just to look at how much it would be used if we opened it starting spring break, local spring break week in March. So I don't know if, for the younger kids, if that's something they could use. I had a question about the restrooms at London Bridge Beach. That wasn't part of your presentation, but was that something that was completed this year?
Yes, and I couldn't steal that from our Public Works Department
Oh, okay.
because they're the ones that actually did the work. So
Okay.
it was talked about during the full session. But yes, all the bathrooms were renovated in both London Bridge Beach as well as Rotary Park.
Okay. I just know that got a lot of attention and questions.
It did, and I didn't want to steal the thunder from Public Works.
Okay. And then I feel that it's important just to clarify, you had mentioned that resurfacing of the tennis courts at the high school. Could you talk about the arrangement there? Sure.
We have a intergovernmental agreement with the high school. We split the cost on that. The courts themselves are therefore then open to the public when the high school is not using them. Okay. So we get a lot of play in the early morning and then again in the evening, minus when our state champions are out there, of course, playing. So yeah, it's a joint use agreement, and then we split the cost of those.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Other comments or questions?
Oh, just one more. I did notice, I don't know if this was Public Works or not, but I did notice a new wheelchair ramp down at London Bridge Beach, which was fantastic. I don't know if many people know about that, but it went up pretty smoothly. It looks nice. Can you speak to that for a minute?
Yeah, that was again part of the bathroom renovation project. They added an extra ramp to get down there. There's still a couple of pieces of concrete missing right in front of the bathroom itself that will be added in the next couple of weeks as that project finally wraps up.
Okay, and any comments or questions from the public? Okay, thank you. All right, that moves us into our future discussion items. Anyone have a recommendation? Mr.
Um, I'd like to see the pros and cons of installing a basketball court, full court in Rotary Park. I'd spoke to you about that, Mike, before. Maybe we can get the board's opinion on it if that could be something brought up in a future agenda item.
Okay,
Hang on a second.
and yes, is there a second for that to be a discussion item? Second from you, okay, Mr. Smith. All right, so that'll be a discussion item. Any other recommendations? Okay.
To your point, Ms. Pasquale, could you run the pros and cons of opening the water splash park at Mesquite earlier? It probably wouldn't start till next year, of course, but so we could have that in discussion for the next meeting and talk a little bit about that.
I suppose I'll second that. Any others? Okay. So our next meeting is,
Yes. If we followed our normal schedule, it will be held March 23rd. Unfortunately, I am out of town that day, so I don't know. We could look at, although we run into spring break, if we do it the week right before that. So that could be.
Sherry's got it covered. I'm just kidding. We'll put that on you. So thoughts on rescheduling the March meeting or skipping that and meeting in April?
I don't have any objections if whatever fits your schedule is what we're bound to do, which works for us.
So are we looking at rescheduling a March meeting date? And it might, can I get consensus on that either way? So we know how to
need some
move
more head
forward?
nodding this way or this way.
Yeah, I second that.
I would propose maybe sending and emailing to identify a date, and if we can land on a date that works for everyone, then we'll do that and take it from there.
So yeah, we could check on March 30th, 31st, which would be the
Yeah, I don't
the
have
fifth
my
Monday of the month. We traditionally meet on the 4th, but we could check and see if the 5th works. It is the 30th.
30th, so maybe. So potentially next meeting is March 30th, if quorum is,
And if we can
And a location.
have it right,
Okay.
the location can be identified.
okay. Do I need a motion to adjourn? I haven't done this in a few months. Okay, motion, who would like to motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Oh, everybody. One is a first and one is a second. Okay, great. We are adjourned at 6:58.
It's like Jeopardy. Yep.